Yo, Kpaceguy here. What's going on, YouTube? Right in front of you is an old veteran in the system. It's the PB1000 from SVS, a subwoofer that changed the game for entry-level subs. And this subwoofer, if you haven't heard about it, it's been around for the last 13 years. I think it came out in around 2005, 2006. And I've had it in my system for the last 3 years. So I can't help but bring this back and talk about how good is it now in 2019.
Perfect.
So in case you guys aren't too familiar with this subwoofer, we'll go through just a few specs. So this is again an entry-level speaker from SVS. It runs for $499 each, only comes in the black ash finish, but does have a smaller sister, the SB1000, the sealed box. This is the ported box here, the PB1000. It has a 10-inch high excursion driver, which I'll show you guys in a minute. It has a 300 watt RMS amp and 720 watts peak. For $499, getting 720 watts peak is absolutely phenomenal, but that's not the good part about the subwoofer. This subwoofer gets down to about 19 hertz. I've tested it in some of my other rooms, and I've gotten down to 17 hertz with ease, no distortion, at a pretty good amount of volume. So this subwoofer is a beast. Now, what makes this subwoofer phenomenal is not just, what it can do for its size, but how versatile it is. Not only is it being a 10-inch, it's really good for music. Of course, it's a small driver, but it's so good for movies. And I was stunned when I put this in my system. I used to have 2 of them, but I gave one away to some of my subscribers. But I kept hold of this one. This thing sounds so good for movies. I had no idea it would perform the way it does, being a 10-inch and a rather big enclosure for a 10-inch, which is quite shocking. But this thing sounds so good. The bass is so clean and tight. Of course, being a 10-inch, you're going to get tight bass just because it's a small driver, but something about the SVS name, they make their drivers so good. It sounds so clean, crisp, tight with music. It sounds so good with movies, enough to make you feel it in your chest. For most movies, it's so good. 720 watts peak. It's a good subwoofer, guys. I've even played around with this thing in my car. I had this in my car as a music subwoofer for about, I don't know, a good 5 or 6 months. And it sounded so good. I even got some trunk flex out of my sub. I even have a video on my channel now of when I used it in my subwoofer, or excuse me, used it in my car system, and actually got some flex out of it. So this is a pretty good subwoofer for what it is. $499, you can get yourself another one of these and have a really good system. So after 3 years of having it, moving it around, carrying it, switching positions, all that good stuff, it's held up really, really well. Of course, you're gonna get your regular scratches and dings, and your grill's gonna kind of get messed up a little bit, but overall, this thing has held up through all the movement that I've put it through, especially moving from one house to another, from one car to another. It's held up very, very well. It sounds as good as it did when I first got it. You guys see that big port at the bottom there? I can put my entire fist all the way through there. It's a super fantastic subwoofer. It's in a bigger box than what you expect a 10-inch to be in, but because it's in a bigger box, you're getting really good low-end extension. And guys, it has a very flat response all the way across the frequency range. It's so flat, minus a few decibels here and there, but a super flat response. Of course, that's going to change in your room depending on what size your room is and what you have in it. But for overall, it is a flat response. It's not gonna be too hard to tune this in with your speakers or cater it to your listening styles. It's gonna be a super good subwoofer. So I really recommend you guys getting this subwoofer if you don't have it. If you're looking for something small, looking for something that packs a good punch but doesn't cost too much, this is definitely a subwoofer you guys should be looking at. On the back, you're greeted with that sledge amp that they use on the back on all their subs. And this is actually a really versatile sub for the price. So of course you have your volume knob here at the top. Has a nice little haptic feedback, so as you're turning it, you kind of get that click sensation. Down here is your phase, and this is unheard of in lower tier subs. Usually you have a switch from 0 to 180 to change your phase, but you have a variable dial here that you can change from 0 to, maybe 50, 70, 90, and all the way up to 180. So that's actually really convenient and really helpful for tuning in this sub. And then down at the bottom you have your crossover. So if you're not going to use your receiver to set your crossover, you'll set it down here, down from 50 all the way up to, it looks to be about 200 or so. And then if you turn it all the way up, if you're going to be using your crossover from your receiver, you'll turn it all the way up to LFE and then set your low pass filter on your receiver. So that's really nice to give you a lot of different kind of configuration to work with. Here you have your auto standby or on. There is no off switch other than here where you'll turn it on or off, but it has an auto standby or you can always leave it on. What's really cool is it has a trigger input, so if you want to daisy chain it from your receiver to here and only turn on when your receiver's on and only turn off when your receiver is off, then you got that there. So here, if you're using a stereo output, if you're using maybe like a 3.5 millimeter or some type of RCA cable, you can have it go out and you can also have it come in. Of course, if you're using just the LFE track, you'll plug it in here. And then if you're using a receiver that may not have a subwoofer output, then you can actually plug in your left and right speakers down there. So it has a lot of different options to use this. So SVS wanted you to be able to use this subwoofer with any stereo or home theater you may have. So really good quality out of these binding posts. Usually they're terrible, but actually these are really, really good. It's a good kind. It's plastic, of course, but it's a really sturdy, really strong, tough kind of plastic. So no worries there when you're using this. So just how good is this subwoofer in 2019, being a super old speaker? It's actually phenomenal. That's why I've kept on holding on to it for this long. It's just something I just can't seem to get rid of, and I'm going to be using it in my second listening room. It's such a good subwoofer, guys. It's so clean, so tight. It gets so deep. I'm not sure of too many other 10-inch subwoofers that get that low. It's super good. You cannot go wrong with getting one of these. It's perfect for a small room. If you have a bookshelf system, if you're using it for 2-channel listening, it's so versatile, so good, so powerful. Most people don't need a big subwoofer. They want something just to add a little more bass to their system, and this is a really good subwoofer for this. If you haven't seen any of my other PB1000 videos, I have a couple on my channel now, but we're actually going to plug this up right now and see how it sounds in my system. So if you're not familiar with my channel, I have 2 PB4000s in my living room. They're huge. I've done plenty of reviews on them, so check those out. But I'm gonna actually turn those off and I'm gonna plug in the PB1000 and watch a couple movies and listen to a little bit of music and see how it sounds. I've yet to plug this subwoofer in this house, period. I've never heard it in a bigger room, so I'm super excited to see how it goes, and you guys can sit here and ride along with me. Alright, so I got the PB1000 set up where my PB4000 is. It's currently hooked up by the SVS wireless adapter for the subwoofers. And so I'm gonna play a little quick test demo. I'm gonna use The Quiet Place, or A Quiet Place I should say. A really good movie for LFE bass tracks. I used the same scene for my PB4000 torture test. And I'm gonna do the same thing for my PB1000. Now it is about 6:30, 7 o'clock here, so it's getting rather late at night in the apartment. So I can't turn up real loud, but hopefully we can get some excursion out of this. So let's do it. So there you have it, guys. Just a quick little sound demo. I wish I could crank it up more, but I just can't afford to get in trouble, guys. But that was scene 14 of A Quiet Place. So if you want to use that as reference in your home theater, definitely do that. Fantastic movie overall. I absolutely love it. And it is Dolby Atmos encoded. So if you have a Dolby Atmos set up, you can get a really good experience with this movie. So guys, this subwoofer is amazing. You can see the size difference between the 1000 and the 4000. It's not even a comparison, but there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video of this PB1000, kind of a step back in the past. Super good subwoofer. It's still good on today's standards. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a comment down below. What subwoofer or subwoofers are you using in your setup? Have you had a PB1000? Are there anything out there that's maybe can beat the PB1000 around the same price point? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as hit that like button. This week we're hitting our like button with the earlobe. If you can just tap that like button with your earlobe, you'll be super amazing. And then if you can smack that subscribe button to stay tuned for more videos, I would greatly appreciate that, guys. So you take care out there, and we'll see you in the next video. Kpaceguy out.